Hello everyone, Cepheus here, and I'm going to give you a short video showcasing some of the new stuff coming in the next patch. I'm not going to showcase everything because some of the stuff is just easy to read in the patch notes, but the things that have a big impact on the game and things that we've been discussing are things I want to talk about. And first of all, we've changed workers quite a bit. SAVs now attack much faster like they did in Brood War, while probes and drones have a longer range and kind of a moving shot, which makes them easier to micro. So we're gonna showcase that here real quick. So this probe is gonna come over and try and kill this SCV, and the SCV is gonna kill the probe. And we're gonna try and do some fancy micro here from the probe. As you can see, you can get a kiting shot in, but it's quite tricky. And when the SCV is attacking, you can see that it is attacking faster than it is doing on live, but so really nice kiting here by the probe, and the probe actually kills the SCV. This makes workers overall a lot better at killing scouting workers and killing early fighting units such as Zerglings and maybe even Zealots. One thing to note in particular is that driving a worker through the enemy mineral line is incredibly dangerous and a stupid way to scout at the moment. Don't want to do that anymore. But you don't really need to do that to see their base anyway. Alright, next on changes, we have a new ghost. Let me see if we can get it in here. So, this ghost, oh, there we go. This ghost is quite different from the ghost we have on the live version. First of all, it can't shoot. Because we want it to be good. No, okay, but it can't shoot unless it cloaks. Now, cloak is different. Cloaks leaves it immobile, and it has a one-time cost only. So it costs 30 energy to cloak, and it doesn't drain any more energy than that. It actually just sits there and recharges energy. Now it can shoot, but it can't move. So it's kind of like the siege tank of the bio, where you set it up, and there it is. If you want to move out of there, you have to decloak first. But like you can see that these Hydralisks cannot move through this area without any sort of detection. Which makes the Ghosts a very interesting choice early game to try and go for some very low cost and very effective defense. And if you can sneak them over to the other side of the base, you can cause a lot of havoc for the opponent. The point defense drone has been replaced with a sensor drone, and the sensor drone allows other biological units in the area to gain a speed buff while it is in the area of the sensor drone, and the sensor drone itself is cloaked. So this helps in many ways with micro and also with reinforcing units, except for SCVs apparently. No. I'm going. Is it faster? Yeah. No, I'm just retarded. Yeah. Alright. And then the nukes are as normal. Oh, actually nukes require... Crap, what did we end up having nukes
fusion
require?
Core.
Yes, nukes require a fusion core to be built now. And there's a reason for that. Because now, and this is an interesting change, in order to get a starport, you either need a factory or a merc compound. Which means that if you want to play bio, you can skip factory tech. And that's why we don't have factory requirement for nukes anymore, because then you have to make a building you're not going to use if you want to go only bio. So it's over on fusion core, and this also stops these really weird early fast nuke rushes versus Zerg defensive areas that we seen that we were kind of iffy about. Alright, that's the Ghost. Over to...
Also, I want to point out that the Ghost doesn't attack air units. That's very important.
That is very important. You cannot snipe observers and overlords to see them. That is actually very important. And with me here, as you can hear, is Kalevi. Alright. What we've done with the Eruptor is that we actually removed it and reworked it quite a bit, and now it's called something else. So let's show you. So the point of the Eruptor is to be an anti-air unit which deals with large numbers of light air units such as Mutalisks and Corsairs.
Corsairs are armored.
Yes, but they're weak-ish, and you make lots of them in a clump. So. But yes, thank you for continually disrupting my train of thought, Kalevi. So here they are, the Swarm Lords in all their glory. Look like the Swarm Hosts from StarCraft 2. That's a lot of Swarm Lords. You want to just maybe bring only 3 of them or something? Or I do have 7 Mutalisks. 4 versus 7. 4. So they have an ability where they spew out a green cloud, and they do this automatically on enemy units when they approach, so you can't really control that. And a group of mutalisks trying to attack Stormlords. As you can see, this is an interesting battle. And they lost everything. So this green cloud they spew out is kind of like a stationary irradiate in the air that deals damage to actually all air units. And on top of that, they have a normal attack that deals single target damage. Hopefully this unit will promote more micro interactions than the old Eruptor, and will be less of a surprise suddenly don't fly over this area that the Eruptor were, compared to... yeah. Finish that sentence somehow. Anything you want to add about the Stormlords, Kalevi?
Yeah, they are very good against Corsairs. So I can imagine them being very useful in every kind of Corsair Zealot. Pushers, Protoss tend to use against Zerg, which Zerg also had a lot of trouble to defend against. And they actually do guaranteed damage because of their autocast cloud against science vessels. So you're guaranteed, if you have a couple of them, to do damage. So you might consider building them if the Terran science vessel cloud goes out of hand.
They're the same tech as the old Eruptors, and they cost 100, so they're slightly more expensive. They also have a versus ground attack, which is fairly weak, but it's something. You can see it in action now. Is it splash?
It is splash.
It's small
it's very
splash.
tiny splash.
Yeah, small splash. That's right. So it helps.
Their splash is so tiny, they don't even do damage to neighboring dragoons.
Yeah. Now you don't wanna have Stormlords running around in the battle all by themselves. You want to have them protected by the units, because it's very easy to pick them off with a group of Zerglings or Hydras or something like that.
They only have 100 HP too, and are armored, so they're very vulnerable.
Yes. All right, over to the next unit that we want to showcase, and which is the last unit that is completely reworked, and that is a whole new unit for Protoss. Since Stalkers have been removed, and we were looking to add something else, and we added a new unit for the Protoss race on the Robo facility. So at the Robo facility now, you can make a new unit called the Void Relic, and it's quite expensive, as you can see. 175, 153 supply. This is a very expensive unit. But it has the same kind of attack as the Diamondback had in the campaigns, where it locks on a target and then it just keeps shooting. Oh, it's hard to do on your own buildings. Yes, it's easier on an enemy to showcase.
I get an Ultralisk, 1 second.
Oh yeah, one Ultralisk without speed is a dead Ultralisk. Let's just showcase this. I've done this one before. So as soon as they lock on, we can just keep channeling this Ultralisk down if we have anywhere to go. Now, if the Ultralisk had speed, the Ultralisk would beat this easily. Also, you shouldn't do this with an Ultralisk. You should turn around and run away. So that looks quite strong. They can also shoot air, actually. So it's a big investment, but hopefully there's an interesting payoff, and it makes for some interesting micro situations. One thing to note is that Void Relics plus Zealots do a decent job versus Dragoons. So this might be a good unit to go for in PvP. And it's also an option on the robotics facility to kind of deal with Mutalisks. They're not the most effective, not as good as Corsairs. But if you go for a robo opening for a fast reaver and you see Mutalisks, you can get a couple of these out to help deal with them. If you don't. So you don't feel it doesn't feel as risky to not go Starport anymore versus Stargate anymore versus Zerg. So that's an interesting alternative as well. We'll probably keep working on this unit throughout more patches, but this is the first iteration of it. It also has a kind of a cloak. It's called Hide in the Shadows. When it's cloaked, it can't move or shoot. It can't do anything. So you can just stay hidden, and then it can decloak again. So it's kind of like go across half the map. Oh, the enemy is coming. Quickly hide, and then keep going. So you can kind of sneak into an opponent's base that way without him noticing. Or whatever else. Block a ramp, be annoying, whatever.
Do they still have the vision increase when they're cloaked?
Yes, they get a vision increase when they're cloaked.
If they do not.
I think that's it.
Okay.
That's oh no, do we want to show versus Mercs and Marines? They do decently versus Bio, but very horribly versus Mech.
Yeah, we can show that. Also, they hover. They do not get triggered by Spider-Mans.
Oh yes, that's important. They are hovering.
But there's also something else. the Stargate Corsair. Do we want to talk about that?
Oh,
Corsair Scout.
Well, I can just mention it. That
Yeah.
the disruption web has been removed from the Corsair and added to the Scout, and it no longer requires an upgrade like it did on the Corsairs. This should give some more incentivization to making a couple of Scouts early on, in addition to Corsairs, and like that. And it's exactly the same. Oh, hopefully this. Hang on. No, it seems like the weapon has been added. I don't. Oh, well, I'll have to think about that later. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, good, because you actually have to add every single weapon to the list of that.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
I
and I don't think the Swarm Lords have been added. Actually, let's try the Swarm Lords.
I think the Swarms have been added.
Whatever, we can look into that. But thanks for watching. This is some of the interesting changes coming in next patch. The rest of the changes you'll find in the patch notes. Thank you for joining me, Kalevi, and have a good day.